coffee bad for you? No. Okay, but seriously, you know my automatic answer is no. And when I was looking into this, I wanted the answer to be no. I love coffee so much, I honestly thought about only looking up research that confirms that coffee is good for you. But here's the thing, I don't even have to. Obviously, anything can be bad for you if it's not done in moderation, but in the end, coffee really isn't that bad for you. I'm really big into optimizing my health, and I don't like having addictions or any kind of food that overtakes my life. Sometimes I really struggle with how much sugar affects me, and I get really frustrated, and I have to take a step back, do Whole30 or something, reassess how much sugar I'm consuming in my diet. I've had to do the same thing with coffee. If I feel like it's becoming too much of a habit or something I'm relying on or I'm dependent on, I try to take a step back so it doesn't become an addiction. I mean, I don't really mind when it does become an addiction, but just health-wise, I like to check in. Shout out to my mom who got me addicted to coffee. Love you. First of all, the myth that coffee dehydrates you is not true. The myth that caffeine in general dehydrates you is not true. I did not know this until I was in the middle of studying my complete food and nutrition guide, where it explains that caffeine actually does not dehydrate you. It's a myth! A lot of people ask if their tea or coffee can count when trying to consume your 8 ounces of water a day. A lot of people say, no, I would still stick to trying to get your water, but the coffee isn't going to dehydrate you along the way. The reason people think their coffee or tea is dehydrating them is because you end up drinking hot liquids, which sometimes can raise your core body temperature and make you feel more dehydrated. Similarly, if you drink a bunch of iced coffee, you get the feeling of drinking cold liquid, and sometimes you can forget to have a glass of water with it. If you're having your recommended daily amount of water along with your coffee, you'll be perfectly fine. There are a few things that you should keep an eye on when consuming your coffee. First of all, sneaky calories. Black coffee is good for you. It's not that half and half is bad for you, but again, moderation, people. It's very high fat. Once you start adding a bunch of milk or sugar or flavors, frappuccino, it's no longer calorie-free bean water. Now it's just become syrup, milk, bean, caffeine. When I was younger, I started out drinking a bunch of flavored creamer in my coffee, and as I grew older, I used less and less, and then I switched to unflavored creamer, and then I switched to just milk, and now ever since my marathon training, I just drink it black. Something that I love to do is sprinkle cinnamon on top of my coffee. It gives it a little extra flavor without all the added sugars and crap. Number 2, if you have any kind of heart condition or anxiety, it might help you to cut back on your coffee or at least switch to decaf. Last year I had some health complications and I was having heart palpitations, and I do deal with bouts of anxiety, and the first thing I do when that happens is switch to decaf. I know, I always preached that decaf was of the devil. What's the point? I mean, if you're just gonna drink decaf, you might as well just have a glass of milk or a glass of water or something, because what is the point? But here's the deal. I love coffee. I love the flavor of coffee, and I'm not really dependent on the caffeine anyway. I could do without it. So especially if I'm having anxiety or chest pain or something, I stop drinking my caffeinated coffee, switch to decaf, and drink a lot of water with it. People with heart conditions can also be very sensitive to caffeine, so keep an eye on that. 3, exercise and dehydration. Again, coffee itself does not dehydrate you, but if you get in a mode where you're spending all day refilling your coffee cup instead of your water bottle, you can really fall behind on your water consumption. And if you're an athlete or an overall active person who requires more than the usual amount of water to stay hydrated, it's really easy to fall behind. I have never been good at drinking my daily amount of water. I'm also very tall and very active, so I think I'm supposed to have 100 ounces a day, which is a lot. The days that I start falling behind on getting my water is when I just keep drinking coffee. Sometimes it's a response to stress, and so I just fill up the coffee cup because it makes me happy. And sometimes it's just because I'm checking out new coffee shops with my mom, and then I realize I've been walking around town and haven't had a glass of water for 8 hours. All in all, coffee is amazing and I love it, and this is my tribute. If you ever want to have a cup of coffee with me, let me know, because I'm always down. Cheers.